Welcome in. It is day 298 and you're speaking with the Meeples Champion. And today we're going over a old school war game. This is actually from back in the 80s. It's a game that I picked up in the early 2000s. I was really excited because I grew up loving the game Risk, and I wanted to find something that was Risk but different, something that gave me a little bit of a change to it. The game I found was called Ikusa. Now, Ikusa is based out of Japan, and the idea of the game is it's the same concept. You're using now the different separation of Japan setup for your shoguns and such to be fighting throughout, but you've still got your idea of trying to put troops on the map and fight. The difference is now you're gathering money, you're putting out groups where you can decide, do you want to use them as putting out guys who are fighting with swords, or you're trying to put out guys who are fighting with bow and arrow and therefore can fight from more of a distance. You have people who are going to run it, who are your shoguns, who are more powerful, and you're trying to make your way through the map and see if you can wipe out an opponent or if you can reach the most victory points. The VP is a little different in this game. It's not playing out victory points, but the idea of conquering so much that it gives you the victory. Now, this is a game that when I first got it, I was really excited. It was one of the first games I bought that was a play on a game I grew up loving. But then when I tried to play it the second and the third time, for some reason something just kind of fell off for me. The game didn't have that same feel. It was one that I ended up deciding to sell. I culled it from the collection almost 5 years ago. I really liked the game at the time. It didn't hang on for me. That being said, why don't we jump in? Let's talk our 7 categories and see where this game lands for us today. When it comes to the art, even today, I mean, that game was from 1986, and that cover still grabs me. It's a fantastic shot of an Ikusa face, great red around the board. I think that it's just really interesting, and I like the setup they have of the map, of the pieces, of the cards. I really think that the art holds up from when it came out. It may not be a fantastic art. This is a passing art. It's one where when you're thinking of a game like this for its area, you want to have a fighting game based out of Japan with, a shogun, an Ikusa, feudal lords. This one just grabs me. So for me, it's a barely passing because I understand it's not going to hit for everybody, but it's a thumbs up. Your components. So one of my favorite components for this game is the fact that you have your player card, but it slides into your individual player's pieces area so that it can block it out. Nobody can see what you have, and it gives you ideas as to all the things you can do. And then you actually select what it is you want to do for your turn. So what action are you going to go for? And you slide in your options as far as your coins into these, and then you reveal, showing everybody what it is that you actually chose to do. So that's a really great way. It's hidden movement in a way. Not exactly the movement itself, but the idea of hidden actions. Nobody's sure what's happening, and then you all get revealed at the same time. And I think that piece to the game is fantastic. On top of that, your minis are really nice, and everything's really either good cardboard or plastic. It's a thumbs up. Price. This game's not cheap. This game goes for $90. I bought it for $90. I sold it used for $75. It's a really cool game from back in the day, but for me, this price, I mean, you're not going to find it almost anywhere. I didn't find this in a board game store. I've never seen it in a board game store. I found it in Newberry Comics. And so you're not going to find it. You're not going to find it cheap. And for the price you're paying, there's so many war games today, and there's so many games that are Shogun or Ikusa, themed, that you can find something better for cheaper. So for me, thumbs down. Your difficulty. So this game is, it's tough. I don't think it's necessarily intended for kids or even for beginners. I don't think it's an impossible one for a beginner to play, but it just doesn't strike me for them. And I think experts get bored of this too because there's not enough strategy. I think it just lands with the experienced players, and only a small group of them. For me, it's not enough. Thumbs down. replayability. So I played this 3 times. I bought it. I really enjoyed the first play. And then it took me like 2 months and I played it again. And then it took me like a year and I played it again. And I didn't really like it the third time. And then it sat in my closet for like 3 or 4 years. And then I finally just sold it. Because I was like, this is never going to get played. The replayability for this game is it can take a long time. It's exciting sometimes, but other times the game's a dud. And it just doesn't seem to have anything great going on. And it does seem that you need to really have this at the higher player count. Playing it at 2 or at 3 does not seem to strike well. So for me, I don't think there's replayability. Thumbs down. Your keys to victory. So your keys primarily are about how are you investing not only in your army and in where you're going to move around, the buildings you're trying to conquer that are going to give you more defense. Are you trying to go after more archers? Are you going after more trying to have out your shoguns? Are you trying to have out your blade masters? What are you going for? There's a lot of style here. I think that there's keys in that way, but at the end of the day, it's still dice rolling, so I don't feel the keys are backed up by a strong system. It's going to be a thumbs down. Is the game unique? The game is a cool concept, and I think that there's some pieces to it that are definitely good. But to me, it's just another war game. It's just dice rolling. And even the way that they have it set up that you can put somebody on the board and all the other pieces are off the board on a card to represent the army, that's just what you got from Axis and Allies. I don't think this game's unique at all. It's got to be a thumbs down. Overall, what do I think? I think this was a good buy for me. It was a game that gave me a shot to see what back in the 80s was their attempt at upgrading games like Risk. But it showed me the limited capability of the time, the limited creativity, I should say, more so. That, you got a great theme and you had some cool concepts, but there wasn't enough there to distinguish this to be worth its price. Whereas today we're seeing so many of these style games come out, and while they may not all be huge hits, there's a bunch of them that are really, really great. So for me, this is not a game I'd recommend. I think it's too much money, it's too hard to find, and there's just better options out there. Well, it has been day 298, and we've been speaking about the game, Ikusa. And you've been speaking to the Meeples Champion. Like, share, subscribe, and check down below in the description where I'll be adding an Amazon link in case you want to get this game for your collection. Until next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow.